When my husband announced, "We're opening our marriage so it's not betrayal," I watched him disappear with his coworker for 6 long weeks. By the time he stormed back, shouting on our doorstep, half the neighborhood gathered to witness his unraveling, while I finally realized I wasn't the one falling apart. "We're opening our marriage so it's not betrayal." My husband said this while I was making dinner. Maya was coloring at the table behind me. The pasta water was boiling. I had a knife in my hand mid-chop on a bell pepper. I set the knife down carefully, turned off the stove, wiped my hands on a dish towel and turned to face Noah, who was leaning against the counter like he'd just announced he was switching phone carriers. "Before we continue, I want to thank you for being here to share stories of women reclaiming their power. If you believe that self-respect matters more than empty promises, please consider subscribing. It's free and helps us reach more women who need to hear this. Now let's see how this unfolds." "Say that again," I said quietly. "I'm being honest with you, Ava. I've decided we're in an open marriage now. I'm leaving tomorrow for a 6-week training seminar with Sienna Park. I'm telling you ahead of time because I don't want drama." 6 weeks. With the woman from his office. The one he'd been mentioning constantly for months. The one whose innovative leadership apparently made her a visionary while my 12-hour shifts saving children's lives made me, what? Boring? Insufficient? An anchor? I looked at Maya, her head bent over her coloring book, her little voice humming some song about unicorns and rainbows. She had no idea her father was about to walk out the door and rewrite her entire childhood. "If you walk out that door with her," I said, my voice steady, "don't come back thinking everything's waiting for you." Noah actually looked surprised. Like he'd expected me to cry. To beg. To negotiate for scraps of a marriage he'd already abandoned in every way except legally. But I'd been raising our daughter alone for years. I'd been paying the bills, making the appointments, doing the bedtime stories, braiding the hair, packing the lunches. He just lived here. His leaving wouldn't change my reality. It would just remove the illusion that I had a partner. He stared at me for a long moment, waiting for the breakdown that wasn't coming. When I didn't give it to him, he pushed off the counter and disappeared into our bedroom. I heard drawers sliding open, the metallic scrape of hangers across the closet rod, the zipper of his expensive gym duffel. Maya looked up from her coloring. "Mommy, what's for dinner?" I smiled at her, keeping my voice light. "How about we order pizza tonight instead? Special treat." Her face lit up. "With extra cheese?" "With extra cheese." She went back to coloring her unicorn, completely unaware that her world was shifting beneath her feet. I envied that innocence. That ability to trust that the adults around you had everything under control. I pulled out my phone and ordered the pizza. Then I stood in the kitchen listening to Noah pack and felt nothing but a strange, cold clarity. This apartment was mine. I'd signed the lease 3 months before our wedding, back when I was a new nurse working night shifts and living off instant ramen and determination. It was a modest 2-bedroom on the 4th floor of a building with decent heat and neighbors who mostly kept to themselves. My name was on the contract. My first month's deposit came from my own paycheck, earned during 12-hour shifts where I held the hands of terrified parents and tried to save their children. When Noah moved in after the wedding, he brought his gaming setup, his collection of protein powders, and a vague promise to contribute to rent. He did sometimes when his sales commission checks came through. But the structure of this place, the home I'd built, that was all me. The furniture came from thrift stores and patient weekend hunting. The couch I'd reupholstered myself during maternity leave, partly because we couldn't afford new furniture and partly because I needed something to do with my hands during those long, lonely days when Noah was at work and I was home with a newborn who wouldn't sleep and a body that didn't feel like mine anymore. The curtains I'd sewn from clearance fabric. The small herb garden on the kitchen windowsill, basil, rosemary, thyme, that I watered every morning while waiting for my coffee to brew. The framed photos on the walls that I'd chosen and hung myself because Noah said he wasn't good at decorating. Maya's bedroom was my proudest work. I'd painted the walls a soft lavender because she called it princess color. I'd spent an entire weekend doing 2 coats while she stayed at my mom's house, my back aching, my hands cramping, but determined to give her something beautiful. The glow-in-the-dark stars on her ceiling were arranged in real constellations, Big Dipper, Orion's Belt, Cassiopeia, that I'd researched and carefully positioned one night when Noah was out with Marcus. I'd built this home star by star, room by room, morning by morning. Noah just slept here. 20 minutes later he came back into the kitchen carrying his packed duffel. He'd showered and changed, wearing the cologne I didn't recognize, the one that had appeared in our bathroom 3 months ago. He looked like a man about to start a vacation, not abandon his family. "I'll call when I land," he said like this was a normal business trip. I didn't respond. He shifted his weight, uncomfortable with my silence. "You're really not going to say anything? What do you want me to say, Noah? Have a nice time with Sienna?" His jaw tightened. "It's not like that. This is about personal growth. Marcus thinks." "I don't care what Marcus thinks," I said, my voice even. "I care that you're walking out on your daughter for 6 weeks without even asking if I can manage alone. I care that you made a decision about our marriage without including me in the conversation. I care that you're standing here acting like I'm the unreasonable one for not applauding your honesty." He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "I thought you'd understand. You're always talking about being independent. Being independent and being abandoned are two different things." Maya wandered into the kitchen holding her finished coloring page. "Daddy, look. I made the unicorn purple with sparkles." Noah's face softened instantly, the mask slipping into place. He crouched down to her level. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. Absolutely beautiful." "Are you going somewhere?" she asked, noticing his bag. "Daddy has to go on a work trip for a little while. But I'll bring you back something special, okay?" She nodded, already distracted by thoughts of presents. "Can it be a real unicorn?" He laughed, kissed her forehead. "We'll see what I can find." Then he stood, grabbed his bag and walked to the front door. I followed, mostly to make sure he actually left. Outside, a silver SUV idled at the curb. I couldn't see through the tinted windows, but I knew Sienna was in there, waiting. Noah paused at the threshold, looking back at me one last time. "I really am trying to be honest here, Ava. That has to count for something. Honesty without integrity is just cruelty with better PR," I said. He flinched. Then he walked out and I closed the door behind him. Not slammed. Just closed. Final. Maya had already gone back to the table, starting a new coloring page. The doorbell rang 15 minutes later with our pizza delivery. We ate on the couch, watching her favorite cartoon about magical creatures and friendship, her legs swinging happily as she munched on extra cheese. "This is fun, Mommy," she said between bites. "Yeah, baby. It is." After she went to bed, teeth brushed, pajamas on, bedtime story read, unicorn nightlight glowing softly, I sat alone in the living room and let myself think about the last 8 years. I'd met Noah at a hospital charity event. He'd been charming, attentive, interested in my work in ways that felt rare. We dated for a year before he proposed. The wedding was small, mostly my family and friends because his parents had passed years before and he didn't have many close relationships. I'd thought that was sad at the time. Now I wondered if it was a warning sign I'd missed. The pregnancy had been hard. Hyperemesis that lasted all 9 months. Noah tried to be supportive at first, but he struggled with the reality of it. The doctor's appointments, the hospital stays when I got dehydrated, the nights I spent sick while he slept in the guest room because he needed rest for work. After Maya was born, things shifted. I was on maternity leave, home alone with a colicky baby who screamed for hours. Noah's sales job kept him out late. Meetings, client dinners, networking events. By the time I went back to work, we'd established a pattern. I handled everything related to Maya and the house, and he showed up occasionally to play the fun dad before disappearing again. I told myself it was temporary. That once Maya got older, once his career stabilized, once we got through this phase, things would balance out. But they never did. The breakfast table where I braided Maya's hair every morning while Noah slept in. The parent-teacher conferences I attended alone. The birthday parties I planned by myself. The midnight fevers and emergency room visits where I was the only parent present. The school permission slips with just my signature. The pediatrician who'd stopped asking when Maya's father would join us for appointments. I'd been a single parent for years. I just hadn't admitted it. Noah leaving didn't shatter my world. It clarified it. I picked up my phone and opened a new note. Started typing a list of everything I needed to do. Not revenge. Just practicality. I needed to protect Maya. Needed to protect myself. Needed to make sure that when Noah eventually realized his fantasy with Sienna wasn't sustainable, he wouldn't be able to walk back into this life and pretend nothing had changed. As everything had changed. I'd just been too loyal, too hopeful, too committed to a partnership that only existed in my imagination. Not anymore. I looked around the apartment, my apartment, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not happiness exactly, but something close to it. Relief maybe. Or clarity. The weight of pretending had been heavier than I'd realized. Now that it was gone, I could finally breathe. Tomorrow I'd wake up at 5:30 like always. Make coffee in my chipped mug. Braid Maya's hair while she told me her dreams. Pack her lunch with a note tucked inside. Go to work and save lives. Come home and make dinner. Do bath time and bedtime stories. The routine wouldn't change. Because I'd been doing it alone all along. The only difference now was I'd stopped expecting anyone else to show up. The next morning I woke up at 5:30 to an alarm that felt different somehow. The apartment was quieter. Not in a sad way. Just emptier in a way I couldn't quite name yet. I made coffee in my chipped mug, the same routine as always, but my hands moved slower. I kept expecting to hear Noah's footsteps, the creak of the bedroom door, some sign that last night had been a bad dream. But the apartment stayed silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft tick of the kitchen clock. Maya shuffled out of her room at 6:15, her unicorn pajamas wrinkled, her hair a mess of tangles. She climbed into her chair at the kitchen table and rubbed her eyes. "Where's Daddy?" she asked, voice still thick with sleep. I set a bowl of oatmeal in front of her, added a swirl of honey the way she liked. "He left early for his work trip, remember? He said goodbye last night." She thought about this while stirring her oatmeal into a soupy mess. Oh. Okay. That was it. No tears. No questions. Just acceptance. I braided her hair while she ate, my fingers moving through the familiar motions. Sectioning. Crossing. Pulling tight enough to hold but not hurt. I tucked a small elastic at the end and kissed the top of her head. "You're all set, baby." She ran to grab her backpack, already moving on to thoughts of show and tell and recess and whatever 6-year-olds think about when their world isn't falling apart. I drove her to school in silence, watching her in the rearview mirror as she looked out the window and hummed to herself. When I pulled up to the drop-off line, she unbuckled and leaned forward to hug me from the back seat. "Love you, Mommy." "Love you more, Maya." She hopped out, her unicorn backpack bouncing against her shoulders as she ran toward the entrance. I waited until she disappeared inside before I let myself breathe. Then I drove to the hospital and pretended everything was normal. My shift started at 7. Pediatric ICU 12 hours, no breaks except the ones you stole between emergencies. I changed into my scrubs in the locker room, pulled my hair into a ponytail and checked my phone one last time before stashing it in my locker. 3 texts from Noah. All sent within the last hour. Landed safely. Hotel is nice. Tell Maya I miss her. Nothing about me. Nothing asking how I was doing or if I needed anything or whether I'd slept at all after he walked out the door. I deleted the messages without responding and headed to the floor. My first patient was a 4-year-old named Liam who'd been admitted 2 days ago with pneumonia. His mother sat in the chair next to his bed, dark circles under her eyes, her hands wrapped around a cold cup of coffee she probably hadn't touched in hours. "How's he doing?" I asked softly, checking his vitals on the monitor. "He had a rough night," she said, her voice exhausted. "But he's sleeping now." I adjusted his made notes on his chart, and sat down on the edge of the empty bed across from her. "How are you doing?" She looked up, surprised by the question. "Me? Yeah. You've been here round the clock. When's the last time you ate something?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't even know. Yesterday maybe." I stood up, grabbed a granola bar from the snack drawer at the nurse's station and brought it back to her. "Eat this. You can't take care of him if you don't take care of yourself." She took it with shaking hands. "Thank you." I stayed with her for a few more minutes, just sitting. Sometimes it's all people need. Someone to sit with them in the hard moments and not try to fix everything with words. When I left the room, I caught my reflection in the glass window of the ACU door. I looked tired. Older than 34. But I also looked steady. Like someone who knew how to keep going even when things fell apart. The rest of my shift passed in a blur of vitals and medications and parents who looked at me like I held all the answers. I didn't. I just knew how to keep moving forward, one task at a time, 1 hour at a time. By the time I clocked out at 7 that evening, my feet ached and my scrubs smelled like antiseptic and exhaustion. I picked up Maya from my mom's house, listening to her chatter about her day the entire drive home. We learned about butterflies today, Mommy. Did you know they taste with their feet? I didn't know that, I said, smiling despite everything. And Emily brought her hamster for show and tell, and it pooped on Mrs. Parker's desk and everyone laughed. I pulled into our parking spot and turned off the engine. Sounds like a very exciting day. We walked up to the apartment, Maya skipping ahead, and I unlocked the door to the same quiet space I'd left that morning. No Noah. No signs he'd ever been here except for the empty closet space and the missing gaming console. I made dinner, mac and cheese from a box, because I was too tired to cook anything complicated. We ate on the couch while Maya watched her favorite cartoon. After dinner, I gave her a bath, read her 2 stories instead of 1 because she asked nicely, and tucked her into bed. Is Daddy going to call tonight? She asked as I turned on her nightlight. Maybe tomorrow, baby. He's probably busy with his work stuff. She nodded, already half asleep, her stuffed unicorn tucked under her chin. I kissed her forehead and left the door cracked open, the soft glow of her nightlight spilling into the hallway. Then I went back to the living room and sat in the dark. My phone buzzed. Another text from Noah. A photo this time. Him and a group of people I didn't recognize, all dressed in business casual, standing in front of a conference room with a banner that read, Leadership Excellence Summit. The message underneath, Day 1 done. Intense but good. I zoomed in on the photo, searching the faces. Sienna wasn't in the frame, but I noticed the view through the window behind them. Palm trees and ocean. The kind of view you get at a resort, not a conference center. I screenshot the photo, saved it to a folder I'd started that morning titled, Documentation, and set my phone down. That's when I noticed the envelope on the counter. It was half hidden under a stack of mail I hadn't sorted yet. Plain white envelope, my name written on the front in Noah's handwriting. I picked it up slowly, my stomach tightening. Inside was a single piece of paper folded in half. I opened it. Ava, I know this is hard, but I need you to understand that this is about me finding myself again. You've built such a solid life and I admire that. But I've been feeling lost for a long time. Marcus helped me see that I was shrinking myself to fit into a life that wasn't designed for who I'm becoming. This seminar is the first step toward reclaiming my potential. I hope you can support that even if you don't agree with how I'm doing it. I'll be in touch. Noah. I read it twice. Then a third time. He'd left me a breakup letter disguised as a self-help manifesto. He'd reframed abandoning his family as reclaiming his potential. He'd made himself the victim of a life he'd chosen, a marriage he'd agreed to, a daughter he'd helped create. And he wanted my support. I laughed. A short, sharp sound that surprised me in the quiet apartment. Then I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and added it to my documentation folder. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Tessa. Wine night tomorrow. You, me, Bree, and Claudia. No excuses. I typed back, I'll be there. She sent back a string of heart emojis and a gif of someone pouring an absurdly large glass of wine. I set my phone down and looked around the apartment. At the couch I'd reupholstered. The curtains I'd sewn. The photos on the walls. The life I'd built piece by piece while Noah floated through it like a guest who occasionally paid rent. He thought he was finding himself. I was finding out I'd never actually lost myself. I'd just been carrying dead weight for 8 years. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and made myself a cup of tea. Then I pulled out my laptop and Googled family law attorney near me. It was time to stop reacting to Noah's choices and start making my own. The next morning, I sat across from Delaney Morse in her law office on the 8th floor of a building downtown. Her office was simple, no nonsense. Bookshelves lined with legal texts, a desk clear except for a yellow legal pad and a coffee mug that said, Nevertheless, she persisted. She was in her 50s with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled into a low bun. The kind of woman who'd seen every version of this story and had stopped being surprised years ago. Tell me what's happening, she said, pen poised over her notepad. I laid it out plainly. The open marriage announcement. The 6-week departure. The text meant for someone else. Maya's routine. The apartment lease in my name. She listened without interrupting, taking notes in neat, precise handwriting. When I finished, she looked up. You're in a stronger position than you think. But you need to document everything. Can you do that? I nodded. She handed me a printed checklist. Daily routines. Communication logs. Financial records. Proof of primary caregiving. Screenshots of anything relevant. Texts, social media calls. Stay calm. Stay factual. Let him make the mistakes. I folded the paper and tucked it into my purse. How long does this usually take? Depends on how cooperative he is. But given what you've told me, I'd say we file for temporary custody within the week. The rest follows from there. I left her office feeling steadier than I had in days. Not hopeful exactly, but clear. I knew what needed to be done. That night, after Maya was asleep, I opened a new note on my phone and started documenting our life. Wake up time, 6:30 a.m. Breakfast, oatmeal with honey, sometimes toast with peanut butter. School drop-off, 7:45 a.m., Northwest parking lot entrance. After school pickup, Grandma's house, 3:15 p.m. daily. Dinner, homemade, age-appropriate, vegetables included. Bath, 7:30 p.m. lavender bubble bath. Bedtime story. Current rotation includes Uni the Unicorn and Dragons Love Tacos. Lights out, 8:30 p.m. I added every pediatrician appointment I'd scheduled alone. Every school permission slip I'd signed. Every medication I'd administered when Maya had strep throat last month. Every small, invisible piece of parenting that Noah had never noticed because he'd never had to. I wasn't building a revenge plot. I was building a record of reality. The truth didn't need embellishment. I just had to pay attention. I also started tracking Noah's absence. Days gone. Calls made. Calls missed. Background noises heard. Questions he didn't ask about Maya's life. The evidence assembled itself. The next afternoon I took my lunch break at the bank. I sat across from a young account manager named Eric who looked fresh out of college but listened carefully as I explained my situation. I'm separating from my husband. I need to protect my income and establish financial independence. He nodded sympathetically and pulled up our accounts. We had one joint checking account for household expenses, funded almost entirely by my nursing salary, with Noah's sporadic commission deposits scattered throughout like afterthoughts. Eric helped me open a new individual checking and savings account in my name only. I transferred my next paycheck routing there. I calculated Noah's average monthly contributions over the past year, minimal, inconsistent, and left that amount plus a small buffer in the joint account. Clean, fair, documented. Then I logged into our phone carrier account and removed Noah's line from the family plan. He had his own income. He could manage his own phone bill. It took 11 minutes. 3 hours later my phone rang from an unknown number. Noah's voice exploded through the speaker. What happened to my phone service? Kept my voice level. Independence. You shut my phone off. Are you insane? No. Just organized. He made an exasperated sound. I'm at a seminar, Ava. I need my phone for work. Sounds like something Sienna can help you budget for. Silence. Then quieter, angrier. You're being petty. I'm being practical. You wanted to open our marriage and find yourself. I'm helping you do that independently. I hung up before he could respond. That weekend, Tessa and Brianna showed up at my apartment with coffee, storage boxes, and packing tape. We're helping you reclaim your space, Tessa announced, setting down her bag. We started in the bedroom closet. I pulled out Noah's clothes, the expensive button-downs he'd bought after meeting Marcus, the cologne collection that smelled like someone else's aspirations, the running shoes he'd worn twice before deciding he wasn't a running person. Everything went into boxes. Neatly folded. Labeled. Inventoried. We moved to the bathroom. His electric toothbrush. His elaborate skincare routine that was more extensive than mine. His hair gel that cost $30 a bottle. Then the living room. His gaming console. His collection of self-help books with titles like Unleash Your Potential and The Power of Radical Honesty. The framed photo of him at some company retreat, grinning like he'd just closed the deal of a lifetime. By late afternoon we had 12 boxes stacked by the door. Brianna rented a van. We loaded everything and drove to a storage facility 20 minutes away. I rented a unit in my name, added Noah as an authorized user so he could access it, prepaid for 1 month, and wrote the gate code and unit number on an index card. We unloaded everything in 40 minutes. No drama. No ceremony. Just boundaries being drawn. On the drive back, Tessa glanced at me from the driver's seat. How do you feel? I looked out the window at the city passing by. Lighter. Good, she said. Because you've been carrying his weight for years. Back at the apartment, Claudia helped me change the locks. Front door deadbolt chain. She was a locksmith's daughter and had the whole thing done in under an hour. You good? She asked, handing me the new keys. Better than expected. That's because you're doing this clean, she said. No drama. No mess. Just boundaries. Later that evening, after my friends left, I sat on the couch with a cup of tea and looked around the apartment. It felt different. Not empty. Just mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Brianna with screenshots attached. Noah's Instagram stories. Posted throughout the day. Sunset over water. Tropical drinks with tiny umbrellas. An infinity pool reflecting perfect blue skies. One video showed a beachfront restaurant at dusk, soft jazz playing, a woman's laugh barely audible before the clip cut off. The captions were corporate speak. Embracing growth. Investing in transformation. Leveling up. But the visuals told a different story. This wasn't professional development. This was a vacation funded by whatever lies he'd told his company. I screenshot everything. Noted the timestamps. The locations tagged, or suspiciously untagged. The comments from his coworkers, some envious, some confused. One comment stood out. Wait, I thought this conference was in Chicago? Noah hadn't responded. I forwarded everything to Delaney. Her reply was immediate. Perfect. This is exactly what we need. Keep collecting. I set my phone down and finished my tea. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to control. Not over Noah or his choices, but over my own response. Over the narrative. Over the life I was building for Maya and myself. Noah was living in his fantasy. I was building documentation. And when reality finally caught up to him I'd be ready. That night, I tucked Maya into bed, read her an extra story because she asked nicely and kissed her forehead. Mommy, she said sleepily. Yeah, baby. Are you happy? The question caught me off guard. I smoothed her hair back, thinking about how to answer honestly without burdening her. I'm working on it, sweetheart. But I'm okay. We're okay. She nodded, satisfied, and closed her eyes. I turned on her nightlight and left the door cracked, the soft glow spilling into the hallway. Then I went to my room, sat on the edge of my bed and let myself feel the weight of the last 3 weeks. The exhaustion. The anger. The relief. The strange, unexpected hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something better. Not because Noah left, but because I was finally stopping the performance. Stopping the pretending. Stopping the carrying of dead weight. I was building something real. Something solid. Something mine. And for the first time in 8 years that felt like enough. The following Tuesday, Maya's school called during my lunch break. Ms. Whitmore? This is Principal Garrett. Maya's fine, but we need you to come in for a quick conversation if you're available this afternoon. My stomach dropped. What happened? Nothing serious. Just a small incident during recess. We'd like to discuss it in person. I checked the time. My shift ended at 3. I can be there by 3:30. That works. See you then. I spent the rest of my shift distracted, running through possibilities. Maya wasn't a troublemaker. He was quiet, sweet, the kind of kid teachers loved. What could have happened? When I arrived at the school, Principal Garrett met me in her office. A small room with motivational posters and a desk covered in paperwork. She smiled warmly and gestured to a chair. Thanks for coming in, Ms. Whitmore. Like I said, Maya's okay. But her teacher noticed she's been quieter than usual lately. And today during recess, another student asked where her dad was and Maya said, he left because mommy wasn't good enough. The words hit me like ice water. She said that. Principal Garrett nodded gently. Mrs. Parker thought it was important we let you know. Kids process things in unexpected ways. Has there been a change at home recently? I took a breath, choosing my words carefully. My husband and I are separating. He's been gone for about a month. I've tried to keep things stable for Maya, but I guess she's picking up more than I realized. That makes sense. Kids are perceptive. Has she talked to anyone about it? A counselor maybe? Not yet. I've been focused on keeping her routine consistent. But I can look into that. She handed me a pamphlet. The district has a family counselor who specializes in helping kids navigate divorce and separation. I'd recommend reaching out. And in the meantime, we'll keep an eye on her at school. I left the office holding the pamphlet, my chest tight. Maya was waiting in the aftercare room, coloring at a small table. When she saw me, she brightened immediately. "Mommy." I crouched down and hugged her. "Hey baby. Ready to go home?" She nodded, gathering her things. We drove home in silence. I kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, watching her stare out the window, lost in whatever 6-year-olds think about when their worlds shift. At home, I made her a snack, apple slices with peanut butter, and sat down next to her at the table. "Maya, your principal told me something today. She said you told a friend that Daddy left because I wasn't good enough. Did you say that?" She looked down at her plate, her little shoulders hunching. Baby, look at me." She did, her eyes wide and uncertain. "Daddy didn't leave because of me. And he didn't leave because of you. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that don't make sense, and it's not anyone's fault." "Okay." She nodded slowly. "But he's been gone a long time." "I know. And I'm sorry. But you and I are okay. We're doing just fine, aren't we?" "Yeah." Her voice was small. I pulled her into my lap and held her, feeling the weight of everything I couldn't control and the responsibility of everything I could. That night, after she was asleep, I called the number on the pamphlet. Left a voicemail requesting an appointment for Maya. Then I added the incident to my documentation file. Date, Tuesday. Incident. School reported Maya attributing separation to maternal inadequacy. Action taken. Scheduled counseling. The evidence kept building itself. The next day, Noah's mother called. Eleanor Brennan and I had never been particularly close. She was polite but distant, the kind of mother-in-law who sent birthday cards signed "Best Wishes, Eleanor," and called twice a year to check in. Noah rarely talked about her, and when he did, it was always vague mentions of her being busy with her own life. Her voice on the phone sounded strained. "Ava, I hope I'm not bothering you. I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me." I set down the dish I was washing. "Of course, Eleanor. What's going on?" She hesitated. "Is Noah really at a work training? Because I called his office yesterday to leave a message, and his assistant said he's on personal leave. Not a company seminar. Personal leave." The silence stretched between us. I could have lied. Could have protected him. But I was done carrying his secrets. "He told me it was a 6-week training seminar with a coworker named Sienna Park," I said quietly. "But the photos he's been posting don't look like any training I've ever seen." Eleanor's breath caught. "Who's Sienna Park?" "A woman from his office. The one he announced he was opening our marriage for before he left." The line went completely silent. Then, in a voice I'd never heard from her before, sharp, furious, she said, "That boy has lost his mind." We talked for over an hour. She apologized for not being more present, for not seeing the signs, for raising a son who could abandon his family so carelessly. She asked about Maya, about how I was managing, about whether I needed anything. When we hung up, I realized I'd gained an unexpected ally. I added the conversation to my notes. Date Wednesday. Contact, Eleanor Brennan. Content, confirmed Noah's leave was personal, not professional. Offered support. 2 days later, I was working a night shift when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is James Park. I don't know you, but I think we need to talk. My wife Sienna has been on what she called a work retreat for the past month. I just found out your husband was with her. I'm filing for divorce. Thought you should know." I stared at the message, my hands shaking slightly. Sienna was married. Of course she was married. Noah had blown up his entire family for a woman who was doing the exact same thing to hers. I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Delaney without comment. Her response came within minutes. "This just got a lot easier for us." I didn't reply. Just set my phone down and went back to work, checking vitals on a 7-year-old with asthma, adjusting medications, comforting his mother who looked like she hadn't slept in days. My life kept moving forward. Steady. Stable. Grounded in things that mattered. Noah's life was collapsing under the weight of his own choices. That weekend I took Maya to the park. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon, the kind of day that felt too beautiful for everything we were going through. She ran straight to the swings, her laughter cutting through the noise of other kids playing. I pushed her gently, watching her hair fly back with each arc, her face bright with simple joy. "Higher, Mommy. Higher." I pushed harder and she squealed with delight. A woman sitting on the bench next to the playground smiled at me. She's adorable. How old? 6, I said. First grade. Mine too. They grow up fast, don't they? I nodded, watching Maya's legs kick out as she reached the peak of the swing's arc. They do, I said quietly. After the park we stopped for ice cream. Maya got chocolate with rainbow sprinkles, and we sat outside the shop on a wooden bench, her legs swinging while she licked drips off the side of her cone. Mommy. Yeah, baby. This is a good day. I looked at her, really looked. At her chocolate-smudged smile and her rainbow-sparkled fingers and her eyes that still believed the world was mostly good. Yeah, sweetheart. It is. That night, after she was asleep, I sat on my couch with my laptop and reviewed everything I'd collected over the past month. Documentation of Maya's routines. Financial records showing my contributions versus Noah's. Screenshots of his social media posts from luxury resorts. The text he'd sent meant for Sienna. The message from James Park. Eleanor's confirmation that Noah's leave was personal. The school incident report. The counseling appointment I'd scheduled. Everything told the same story. I'd been the stable parent. The present parent. The one who showed up. Noah had been a guest star in his own family's life. And now that guest star was about to find out that you can't walk away from responsibility and expect to walk back into comfort. I closed my laptop and looked around my apartment. The couch I'd reupholstered. The curtains I'd sewn. The photos I'd hung. The life I'd built while he floated through it. This was mine. And I was going to protect it. The next morning I woke to a text from Delaney. Temporary custody petition filed. Court date set for 2 weeks from today. Stay the course. I stared at the message, letting the reality settle. This was happening. I was taking legal action to protect my daughter. Not out of spite. Not out of revenge. Out of necessity. I forwarded the message to Eleanor with a brief note. Thought you should know. I'm moving forward with custody. Her response came within minutes. Good. You have my full support. Whatever you need. I set my phone down and got Maya ready for school, the routine grounding me in the present moment. Braiding her hair. Packing her lunch. Writing today's note. You are loved beyond measure. She read it at breakfast and smiled. Mommy, you always write the best notes. I always mean them, baby. After I dropped her off, I drove to work listening to the morning news on low volume, my mind already running through the day ahead. Another 12-hour shift. Another stack of patient charts. Another round of worried parents who needed reassurance that their children would be okay. But halfway through my shift, my phone buzzed with a notification that made my stomach tighten. A voicemail from Noah. The first one in over a week. I waited until my lunch break to listen to it, sitting in the hospital cafeteria with a cold sandwich I had no appetite for. His voice came through strained, rushed. Ava, we need to talk. Things here are complicated. I'm coming home earlier than planned. I'll be back this weekend. We need to figure some things out. Call me. I deleted the voicemail without calling back. He was coming home early. That meant something had gone wrong. And whatever it was, I didn't need to hear his version first. That evening, Brianna called while I was making dinner. Ava, you need to see this. See what? Check the group chat. Now. I put her on speaker and opened our group text. Claudia had forwarded screenshots from Sienna Park's Instagram. Her account had gone from public to private, but not before Claudia grabbed the evidence. The recent posts were gone. Deleted. But the cached versions told the story. Photos of her and Noah. Not cropped anymore. Not carefully angled. Just the two of them on a beach at a restaurant by a pool, looking exactly like a couple on vacation. One photo showed them clinking champagne glasses with a caption, "To New Beginnings." Another showed them at sunset, his arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. The timestamps matched Noah's training seminar timeline perfectly. She scrubbed her entire account an hour ago, Brianna said through the phone. But the internet is forever. I got everything. I forwarded the screenshots to Delaney without comment. Her response, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This is a gift. I sat down at the kitchen table staring at the photos. At Noah looking happier than I'd seen him in years. At Sienna looking like she'd won some kind of prize. Maya wandered in, her homework half finished. Mommy, can you help me with my math? I closed my phone. Of course, baby. Show me what you're working on. We sat together at the table working through addition problems, her little hand gripping her pencil too tight the way she always did. I guided her gently, correcting mistakes, celebrating successes, being present in the moment that mattered. Because this was real. This was what counted. Not whatever fantasy Noah was living in. On Friday afternoon, Eleanor called again. Ava, I spoke with Noah this morning. He called me from the airport. He's flying back tomorrow. I know. He left me a voicemail. She hesitated. He sounded defensive. He wouldn't tell me what happened, just that the seminar didn't go as planned, and he needed to come home and sort things out. I leaned back against my couch, exhausted. Eleanor, I need to tell you something. I've filed for temporary custody of Maya. The court date is in 2 weeks. Silence. Then quietly, I think that's the right decision. You do. Ava, I raised that boy. I know his patterns. He runs when things get hard. He charms his way out of accountability. I love him, but I won't pretend he's being a good father right now. Maya needs stability. You're giving her that. My eyes burned. Thank you. That means more than you know. I'd like to see Maya this weekend if that's all right. Take her to the Children's Museum, maybe get ice cream after. Give you some space when Noah shows up. She'd love that. We made plans for Saturday afternoon. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet apartment and felt something shift. A loosening of the isolation I'd been carrying. I wasn't alone in this. I had allies. People who saw the truth and chose to stand with me. That night, I tucked Maya into bed and sat on the edge of her mattress longer than usual. Mommy, you okay? She asked, her unicorn tucked under her chin. Yeah, baby. Just thinking. About Daddy? I smoothed her hair. A little. But mostly about you. About how proud I am of you. For what? For being brave. For being kind. For being you. She smiled sleepily. You're brave too, Mommy. I kissed her forehead and turned on her nightlight, leaving the door cracked the way she liked. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall and let myself feel the weight of what was coming. Noah would be back tomorrow. He'd show up expecting, what? Forgiveness. A reset button? A wife who'd waited patiently while he played out his midlife crisis? He'd find none of those things. He'd find locked doors. Packed belongings in storage. Legal documents. Boundaries. And a woman who'd stopped waiting for him to become the partner she deserved. Saturday morning arrived with gray skies and the kind of heavy clouds that threatened rain. I woke early, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table reviewing my documentation one last time. Everything was organized, categorized, dated, backed up in 3 separate locations. I was ready. Eleanor picked up Maya at noon, her face warm and grandmotherly in a way I'd never seen before. Maya ran to her with excitement, chattering about the dinosaur exhibit she wanted to see at the museum. We'll have her back by 5, Eleanor said, giving me a meaningful look. You take care of what you need to take care of. Thank you, Eleanor. She squeezed my hand once before leaving. I spent the afternoon cleaning the apartment. Not because it needed it, but because I needed the rhythm of the work. Vacuuming, dusting, organizing, creating order in the space I controlled. At 3 o'clock my phone buzzed. A text from Noah. Just landed. Can I come by around 4? I replied, no. Your things are in storage. The address and code are on a card I'll leave with the building manager. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Ava, we need to talk face to face. No, we don't. Anything you need to say can go through my attorney. Her contact information is attached. I forwarded Delaney's business card and muted the conversation. The buzzing started immediately. Call after call. Text after text. I ignored all of it. At 4:15 someone started pounding on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. Noah stood there, gym bag at his feet, phone in his hand, frustration written across his face. Ava. I know you're in there. Open the door. I stepped back, my heart pounding but my resolve steady. Ava, come on. This is ridiculous. Mrs. Dalton from down the hall opened her door, peering out with concern. I opened my door just wide enough to be heard but not enough to invite him in. Noah, you need to leave. This is my apartment. You don't live here anymore. His face shifted from frustration to disbelief. What are you talking about? Of course I live here. No. You left. You chose to leave. And I've chosen to move forward without you. You can't just. I can. And I have. Your belongings are in storage. The information is with the building manager downstairs. If you need anything else, contact my attorney. I closed the door. Locked it. Chain and all. The pounding started again. Louder. Mrs. Dalton's voice cut through. Young man, if you don't stop that noise, I'm calling the police. The pounding stopped. I stood on the other side of the door, listening to Noah's retreating footsteps, his muttered curses, the elevator ding. Then silence. I walked to the window and watched him exit the building, dragging his bag behind him, phone pressed to his ear, pacing the parking lot like a man who'd just realized the game was over. And for the first time in 6 weeks, I felt something close to victory. Not because I'd hurt him, but because I'd protected myself. And that was enough. An hour after Noah left the parking lot, my phone started ringing again. Different number this time. I didn't recognize it, but I answered anyway, stepping into my bedroom and closing the door while Maya watched her cartoons in the living room. Ms. Whitmore? This is Officer Ramirez from the police department. We responded to a call at your residence earlier today. Yes, I remember. I'm calling as a follow-up. Your husband has filed a report claiming you've illegally denied him access to his home and possessions. I wanted to get your side documented properly. I sat on the edge of my bed, keeping my voice steady. The apartment is leased solely in my name. I have the original contract dated 3 months before our marriage. My husband left voluntarily 6 weeks ago. I stored his belongings in a secure unit that he has full access to. I have receipts, photos, and the access information I provided to him. Can you email those documents to this address? He rattled off an email. And for the record, based on what I saw today and what you're telling me now, this is clearly a civil domestic matter. But documentation helps everyone. I'll send everything tonight. Appreciated. And Ms. Whitmore? For what it's worth, you handled that situation with a lot of grace. Not everyone can stay that calm. After we hung up, I forwarded everything to the officer and copied Delaney. Her response came immediately. He's flailing. Good. Let him dig his own hole. Maya appeared in my doorway, holding her stuffed unicorn. Mommy, is Daddy going to live here again? I patted the bed next to me. She climbed up and I wrapped my arm around her small shoulders. No, baby. Daddy's going to have his own place. But you'll still see him. Just differently than before. She was quiet for a moment, processing. Hey, can we have macaroni for dinner? Absolutely. Kids were resilient in ways that constantly surprised me. She'd already moved on, her world still intact because I'd kept it that way. We made dinner together, her standing on a stool next to me, stirring the pasta while I shredded cheese. Normal. Routine. Safe. After she went to bed, I sat on the couch with a cup of tea and finally let myself breathe. My phone buzzed. A text from Tessa. Bree said there was drama today. You good? I typed back. I'm good. He showed up. I didn't let him in. Police confirmed I'm within my rights. Queen behavior. We're coming over tomorrow. Wine mandatory. I smiled despite everything. The next morning, Sunday, Eleanor brought Maya back from their museum trip around noon. Maya burst through the door chattering about dinosaur fossils and the ice cream sundae she'd had with extra cherries. Eleanor lingered at the door, her expression careful. Noah called me last night. He's staying at some extended stay hotel near the highway. He's not handling this well. I know. He tried to force his way in yesterday. The police had to tell him it's a civil matter. She closed her eyes briefly. I'm sorry, Ava. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. It's not your fault. Still, I raised him to be better than this. She paused. For what it's worth, I told him he made his choices and now he has to live with the consequences. He didn't want to hear it. Thank you for supporting Maya through this. It means everything. He squeezed my hand. She's my granddaughter. That doesn't change because my son is being a fool. After she left, I spent the afternoon with Maya at the park again, pushing her on the swings, catching her at the bottom of the slide, being present in the simple moments that mattered. That evening, Tessa, Brianna, and Claudia showed up as promised, armed with wine and takeout. Okay, we need the full story, Tessa said, pouring generous glasses for all of us while Maya slept down the hall. I told them everything. The pounding on the door. The parking lot scene. Marcus trying to play life coach. Maya hiding behind my leg. The police confirming my rights. Marcus was there? Brianna asked, incredulous. That man has the audacity of a game show host. He's probably already dropped Noah, Claudia said. Guys like that only stick around when it's convenient. He was right. 2 days later, I got a message from a mutual acquaintance. Marcus deleted all his photos with Noah and posted something about protecting his energy from toxic situations. Thought you should know. I screenshot it and added it to my documentation folder. The alliance was crumbling exactly as I'd expected. On Tuesday, Delaney called during my lunch break. We got a response from Noah's attorney. He's requesting joint custody and claiming you've been alienating Maya from him. I nearly choked on my water. Alienating? He abandoned us for 6 weeks. I know. And his attorney knows that's a weak argument. This is posturing. They're trying to see if you'll fold. Don't. I won't. Good. Our court date is in 10 days. Between the lease, the documentation of Maya's routine, his social media posts, the witness statements from the parking lot scene, and now the police report, we're in an excellent position. Just stay steady. I will. That weekend, Noah requested a video call with Maya. I set it up on my laptop at the kitchen table, staying just out of frame but close enough to monitor. Maya sat in front of the screen, her unicorn in her lap, her face uncertain. Noah's face appeared and he tried to smile. Hey sweetheart. I miss you so much. Hi Daddy. How's school? Are you being good for Mommy? School's good. We learned about butterflies. That's great, baby. Listen, I'm sorry I was loud the other day. Daddy was just frustrated. But I'm going to see you soon, okay? We'll do something fun. Maya nodded, but she didn't smile. Do you miss me? He asked, and I heard the desperation underneath. She thought about it with the brutal honesty of a 6-year-old. A little. But Mommy and I are okay. His face fell. He tried to recover. Well, I can't wait to spend time with you. I'll talk to Mommy about setting something up, okay? Okay. After the call ended, Maya climbed down from the chair. Can I go color now? Of course, baby. She ran off to her room without another word about her father. I closed the laptop and sat in the quiet kitchen, letting the weight of that conversation settle. Noah had spent 6 weeks chasing his fantasy with Sienna, and in that time he'd lost the one relationship that should have mattered most. Not because I'd turned Maya against him, but because he'd made himself irrelevant in her daily life. And now he was facing the consequences. The next day I got a text from an unknown number. This is Sienna. I don't know what Noah told you, but I need you to know that I ended things with him. What we had was a mistake. I'm trying to save my own marriage. Please don't contact me again. I stared at the message for a long moment. She'd ended it. The fantasy was over. And Noah was alone, facing the wreckage of everything he'd destroyed for a relationship that hadn't even lasted 6 weeks. I didn't respond. Just screenshot the message and sent it to Delaney. Her reply, beautiful. The affair partner is distancing herself. This keeps getting better. That evening I made Maya's favorite dinner. Chicken nuggets shaped like dinosaurs with mac and cheese. We ate together at the table, talking about her day, her friends, her upcoming school project on ocean animals. Mommy, can we go to the aquarium sometime? Absolutely. Maybe next weekend. Her face lit up. Can Grandma Eleanor come too? I think she'd love that. After dinner we curled up on the couch for movie night, her head resting against my shoulder, her unicorn tucked under her arm. Halfway through the movie she looked up at me. Mommy, are you happy? The question caught me off guard. I thought about it honestly. I'm getting there, baby. It's been a hard few weeks. But yeah, I think I'm happy. Are you? She nodded. Yeah. I like it when it's just us. I kissed the top of her head and held her a little tighter. Outside the city moved on. Cars passed. Neighbors came home from work. Life continued in its ordinary rhythm. And inside our apartment, my apartment, I was building something Noah's absence couldn't touch. Not a perfect life. Not a life without struggle or sadness or complicated emotions. But a life that was ours. Honest. Grounded. And for the first time in 8 years that felt like more than enough. It felt like freedom. The morning after Noah's hospital ambush, I woke to an email from Delaney marked urgent. Court date moved up. This Friday at 9 a.m. Judge had a cancellation. Noah's attorney agreed to the expedited timeline. Be ready. Friday. 3 days away. I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee, letting the timeline sink in. Everything I'd been preparing for, all the documentation I'd carefully assembled, would be presented in 72 hours. I texted back, "I'm ready." Her response, "I know you are." That afternoon I sat down with Maya after school. She was coloring at the kitchen table, her tongue poking out slightly in concentration as she filled in a unicorn's mane with purple crayon. "Maya, baby, I need to talk to you about something." She looked up, her brown eyes curious. "Okay. On Friday, Mommy has to go to a meeting with a judge. It's about where you're going to live and how often you'll see Daddy. Do you know what that means?" She thought about it seriously. "Like when Emma's parents got divorced and she has 2 houses now? Kind of like that, yeah. But you're going to keep living here with me in our apartment. And you'll visit Daddy sometimes. The judge just needs to make it official." "Will I still see Grandma Eleanor?" "Absolutely. Anytime you want." She seemed satisfied with that answer and went back to her coloring. "Okay, Mommy." I marveled at her resilience. Her ability to adapt. The way she trusted that the adults in her life would handle the complicated parts so she could focus on being 6. That evening my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Ms. Whitmore? This is Detective Lauren Chin with the Fraud Division. I'm calling about a complaint filed by a James Park regarding identity theft and financial misconduct." My heart rate picked up. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. What does this have to do with me?" "Nothing directly. But Mr. Park's wife, Sienna Park, was involved in a workplace relationship with your husband, Noah Brennan. During their association, Mr. Brennan apparently used company resources and expense accounts inappropriately. We're building a case and your husband's name has come up. I wanted to give you a courtesy call since this may become relevant to any ongoing legal proceedings between you." I sat down slowly. What kind of misuse? The 6-week trip he took was not company authorized. He falsified expense reports, claiming it was professional development. The company is pursuing charges. I can't give you more details, but I thought you should know this may impact your custody case. Thank you for telling me. After we hung up, I immediately called Delaney and relayed the conversation. She was quiet for a moment, then, "This is significant, Ava. He's facing criminal charges for fraud. That changes everything. Forward me the detective's contact information. I'll reach out." I sent it and sat in my quiet apartment processing. Noah hadn't just destroyed our marriage. He'd potentially destroyed his career, his reputation, his future earning potential. All for 6 weeks with a woman who'd already cut him off. The fantasy had cost him everything. The next day, Wednesday, I was folding laundry when my phone buzzed with a group text. "Tessa, emergency wine night. Tonight. My place. Non-negotiable. Brianna, I'll bring reinforcements. Claudia, already on my way." I smiled despite everything. "I'll be there. Mom's watching Maya." That evening, I walked into Tessa's loft to find all 3 of them waiting with Chinese takeout, wine, and the kind of supportive energy that only real friends can provide. "Okay, catch us up," Tessa said, pouring wine. "Court's Friday, right?" I told them everything. The moved-up court date. The detective's call. Noah's fraud charges. The way his entire life was imploding while mine was stabilizing. "Karma is real," Brianna said, raising her glass. "And she's spectacular." Claudia leaned forward. "How are you feeling about Friday?" "Nervous." "Surprisingly calm," I admitted. "I've done everything right. I have the documentation. The witnesses. The evidence. I know Maya's better off with me." "Damn right she is," Tessa said fiercely. We spent the evening talking about everything except Noah. My upcoming shifts at the hospital. Brianna's terrible dating app experiences. Claudia's new apartment renovation. Tessa's yoga studio expansion plans. Normal conversation between friends who'd weathered storms together and come out stronger. When I got home around 10, my mom was asleep on my couch and Maya was tucked into bed, her nightlight glowing softly. I covered my mom with a blanket, checked on Maya one more time, and sat in my bedroom with the binder I'd assembled. Every piece of evidence. Every document. Every screenshot and receipt and witness statement. The story it told was clear. I'd been the present parent all along. Noah had been a guest star who'd decided the show wasn't interesting enough. Thursday passed in a blur of last-minute preparations. I confirmed my mom would take Maya to school and pick her up. I pressed my most professional outfit, a gray pantsuit I'd worn to exactly one job interview years ago. I reviewed my timeline with Delaney over the phone. Remember, she said, stay calm. Answer questions directly. Don't editorialize. Don't let emotion take over. The facts speak for themselves. I understand. You're going to do great, Ava. I've seen a lot of cases. Yours is as solid as they come. That evening, I tucked Maya into bed and held her a little longer than usual. Big day tomorrow, Mommy? She asked sleepily. Yeah, baby. But a good one. Hey. Love you. Love you more. I turned off her light and stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her sleep, her chest rising and falling in the peaceful rhythm of childhood. This was what I was fighting for. Not revenge. Not vindication. Just the right to keep giving her this safety, stability, peace. Friday morning arrived cold and gray. I woke at 5, too nervous to sleep. Made coffee. Reviewed my notes one last time. Put on my gray suit and the small pearl earrings my grandmother had given me. My mom arrived at 6:30 to get Maya ready for school. You look strong, she said, hugging me at the door. You've got this. Thanks, Mom. I drove downtown to the courthouse, parked in the garage and took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Delaney met me outside the courtroom, looking every bit the professional warrior in a sharp black suit. Ready? She asked. Ready. We walked in together. The courtroom was smaller than I'd imagined. Wood paneling. Fluorescent lights. A bench where the judge would sit. A few rows of seats. Noah was already there with his attorney, a young man who looked fresh out of law school, shuffling papers nervously. Noah looked different. Thinner. Tired. His expensive clothes hung looser than they had 6 weeks ago. When he saw me, something flickered across his face. Regret, maybe. Or just exhaustion. I sat down next to Delaney and didn't look at him again. At 9 o'clock sharp, the bailiff called, "All rise." Judge Patricia Morrison entered. A woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She sat, reviewed the files in front of her and looked up. This is a petition for temporary custody in the matter of Brennan versus Whitmore. Let's begin. Delaney stood. Your Honor, my client Ava Whitmore is seeking primary physical custody of the minor child, Maya Brennan, age 6. We have extensive documentation showing Ms. Whitmore has been the primary caregiver throughout the child's life, and that the respondent Noah Brennan voluntarily absented himself from the family home for 6 weeks, during which time he maintained minimal contact with his daughter. Noah's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client took a leave for personal development which he communicated to Ms. Whitmore. He maintains that he's been unfairly locked out of his home and denied access to his child. Judge Morrison looked at him over her glasses. Counselor, the home in question is leased solely in Ms. Whitmore's name, correct? The young attorney hesitated. Yes, Your Honor, but... Then there's no illegal lockout. Continue, Ms. Morse. Delaney presented everything. The lease. The documentation of Maya's daily routines. The school records showing I'd been the only parent listed for emergency contacts. The pediatrician's records. The screenshots of Noah's social media showing luxury vacation activities during his claimed training seminar. The police report from the parking lot incident. The witness statement from Mrs. Dalton. Eleanor's written statement supporting my custody petition. The judge reviewed each piece in silence. Then she looked at Noah. Mr. Brennan, did you or did you not voluntarily leave the family home for 6 weeks? Noah stood. Yes, Your Honor, but I was trying to improve myself. That's a yes or no question, Mr. Brennan. Yes. And during those 6 weeks, how many times did you have in-person contact with your daughter? He hesitated. None, Your Honor. But I called. How many calls? His attorney whispered something. Noah cleared his throat. Approximately 8 times. 8 calls in 6 weeks. The judge made a note. Ms. Whitmore, how many times did you maintain the child's routine during that period? I stood. Every day, Your Honor. She nodded. Sit down, please. She reviewed the documents for another few minutes. Then she looked up. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting primary physical custody to Ms. Whitmore. Mr. Brennan will have supervised visitation, 2 hours per week, pending completion of a parenting course. We'll revisit the arrangement in 6 months. Child support will be calculated according to state guidelines. Any questions? Noah's attorney started to speak, but Noah put a hand on his arm. No, Your Honor. Then we're adjourned. The gavel came down. It was over. I walked out of that courtroom with Delaney, my legs shaking, my heart pounding, my mind struggling to process that I'd won. Not just won. Protected everything that mattered. Outside, Delaney turned to me. You did beautifully. Now go home to your daughter. I hugged her. Thank you. For everything. You did the work, Ava. I just presented it. I drove home in a daze, parked in my spot and sat in the car for a moment, letting reality settle. Maya was safe. Our home was secure. The future was ours to build. I pulled out my phone and texted my mom, we won. Her response, I never doubted it. Come get your girl. She's waiting. I walked into my mom's house to find Maya at the kitchen table drawing. She looked up and grinned. Mommy, did you have your meeting? I did, baby. And everything's going to be okay. She ran to me and I picked her up, holding her tight. Can we get ice cream? She asked into my shoulder. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. Absolutely. Extra sprinkles. Yay. And just like that, we moved forward. Together. We got ice cream that afternoon just like I'd promised. Maya ordered her usual, chocolate with rainbow sprinkles, and we sat outside the shop on a wooden bench, the autumn sun warm on our faces. She kicked her legs back and forth, licking drips off the side of her cone, completely content in the moment. No questions about court. No worries about what came next. Just a 6-year-old enjoying ice cream with her mom. This is the best day, she said, chocolate smudged on her chin. I wiped it away with a napkin. Yeah, baby. It really is. That evening, after Maya was asleep, I sat on my couch with a glass of wine and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. Relief. Exhaustion. Pride. Grief for the marriage I'd thought I had. Gratitude for the reality I'd built instead. My phone buzzed. A text from Eleanor. Noah called me. He told me about the custody ruling. I told him it was fair. I hope you and Maya are doing well. Would love to take her to the aquarium next weekend if you're open to it. I typed back, she'd love that. Thank you for everything, Eleanor. Thank you for being the mother she deserves. I set my phone down and looked around my apartment. The quiet. The peace. The space that was finally fully mine. This was what winning looked like. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just steady, earned, real. The next few months passed in a rhythm that felt almost boring in the best way possible. Work. School drop-offs. Bedtime stories. Weekend park visits. Grocery shopping. Laundry. The ordinary cadence of life that I'd been craving without realizing it. Noah's supervised visitation started 3 weeks after the court ruling. 2 hours every Saturday afternoon at a family center downtown. I'd drop Maya off, wait in the parking lot for 2 hours, then pick her up. The first few visits were awkward. Maya would come out quiet, processing, not sure how to reconcile the daddy who left with the daddy who now showed up for scheduled 2-hour blocks. But slowly she adjusted. Started talking about their visits casually. Daddy and I played board games today. Daddy brought me a stuffed unicorn. Small, simple moments that didn't erase what had happened but created something new. I never asked for details. Never pressed. Just let her process in her own time. By the 4th month, Noah completed his parenting course. The judge modified the visitation to unsupervised, every other weekend, Saturday morning to Sunday evening. Still no overnights, but progress. The first time I dropped Maya off at Noah's new apartment, my stomach churned with anxiety. It was a bland corporate complex near the highway, the kind of place people live temporarily between better options. Maya held my hand as we walked to his door. You'll be okay, baby. Daddy will take good care of you. And I'll pick you up tomorrow night. She nodded, braver than I'd been at her age. Noah answered the door looking more put together than he had in months. Clean-shaven. Reasonable clothes. An attempt at stability. Hey, Maya. His smile was genuine but careful, like he was still learning how to be her dad again. She waved. Hi, Daddy. I handed him her overnight bag. She has her unicorn and her favorite pajamas. Bedtime is 8:30. No sugar after 6. She'll need her inhaler if she starts wheezing. It's in the side pocket. He took the bag. I've got it, Ava. Our eyes met briefly. I saw something there, regret maybe, or just exhaustion. I didn't care enough to analyze it. Call me if you need anything, I said to Maya, kissing her forehead. Okay, mommy. Love you. Love you more. I walked back to my car, forcing myself not to look back, trusting that she'd be okay. And she was. When I picked her up Sunday evening, she was tired but happy, chattering about the movie they'd watched and the pancakes Noah had made for breakfast. Did you have a good time? I asked. Yeah. It was fun. But I missed you. I missed you too, baby. That became our routine. Every other weekend she'd go to Noah's. And every time I'd spend those 36 hours adjusting to the quiet apartment, remembering what it felt like to have time to myself. I started going to yoga classes with Tessa. Picked up the novel I'd been trying to read for 2 years. Reorganized my closet. Small acts of reclaiming my own life. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Maya's teacher, Ms. Rivera, requested a parent meeting. I walked into her classroom after school, my stomach tight with worry. She gestured to a small chair across from her desk. Thanks for coming in, Ms. Whitmore. Is everything okay? She smiled warmly. Everything's wonderful, actually. I wanted to meet because Maya has shown remarkable resilience this year. She's thriving academically, reading above grade level, excelling in math. But more than that, she's kind to her classmates. She's confident. She talks about you with such obvious love and security. My throat tightened. We've had a difficult year. I know. It's in her file. But whatever you're doing at home, it's working. He feels safe. And that's the foundation for everything else. I left that meeting with tears in my eyes and a lightness in my chest I hadn't felt in years. Maya was okay. More than okay. She was thriving. Because I'd made the hard choices. Set the boundaries. Fought for stability when everything was chaos. That night, during our bedtime routine, Maya looked up at me with her wide brown eyes and asked, "Mommy, are you happy?" I sat on the edge of her bed, smoothing her hair back. "Yeah, baby. I am. Are you?" She nodded seriously. "Yeah. I like our life." "Me too, sweetheart." "Me too." I kissed her forehead, turned on her nightlight, and left the door cracked. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall and let myself feel the full weight of what we'd survived. The betrayal. The abandonment. The fight. The rebuilding. And we'd made it. Together. A year after Noah left, I woke up on a Saturday morning to sunlight streaming through my bedroom window and the sound of Maya singing to herself in the kitchen. I walked out to find her sitting at the table in her unicorn pajamas, eating cereal and drawing with crayons spread across the table. "Morning, Mommy," she chirped, not looking up from her artwork. The apartment was quiet. Clean. Ours. The walls I'd repainted last month in a soft blue I loved. The furniture I'd chosen. The framed photos of Maya and me at the park, at the beach, at her school play. The life I'd built from the wreckage of someone else's selfishness. I made coffee in my chipped mug, the one that had survived nursing school and a marriage and everything after, and sat down next to Maya. "What are you drawing?" She turned the paper toward me. 2 stick figures, one big and one small, holding hands under a smiling sun. A house with a purple door. Flowers in the yard that didn't exist in our apartment complex but existed in her imagination. "That's us," she said simply. "In our home. Not our family's home. Not Mommy and Daddy's home. Just ours." That's when I knew I'd won. Not because I'd destroyed Noah or gotten revenge in some dramatic public spectacle. But because I'd protected my daughter. Maintained my dignity. Built a life where peace wasn't temporary or conditional. It was earned. Thought. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Noah. "Hey, can I switch weekends? Something came up and I need next weekend free. I can take her the following weekend instead." I stared at the message for a moment, feeling the old familiar frustration rise. Then I typed back. "No. The schedule stays consistent. She needs stability." I hit send and set the phone down. No argument came back. Just a simple, understood. He was learning. Fully. That he didn't get to rewrite the rules anymore. I picked up my coffee and watched Maya color her unicorn a shade of purple that didn't exist in nature, her little tongue poking out in concentration. "Mommy, can we go to the park later?" "Absolutely. And can we bring bubbles?" "We can bring bubbles." She grinned and went back to coloring. I sat there in the quiet morning light, listening to the soft scratch of crayons on paper, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Contentment. Not the fireworks kind. Not the social media highlight reel kind. Just the quiet, steady knowledge that we were okay. That I'd made the right choices. That the life I was building, one morning, one bedtime story, one Saturday park visit at a time, was exactly what we needed. For the first time in 8 years, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I wasn't performing for someone else's expectations. I wasn't carrying weight that didn't belong to me. I was just living. And that felt like the best revenge of all. Later that afternoon, we did go to the park. Maya ran straight to the swings, her laughter cutting through the cool autumn air. Higher, Mommy. Higher. I pushed her, watching her hair fly back, her face bright with joy. A woman on the bench next to me smiled. She's beautiful. How old? 6. First grade. They grow up so fast. They do. I pushed Maya higher and she squealed with delight, her small hands gripping the chains, her whole body leaning into the motion. And I thought about everything that had brought us here. The announcement that shattered my marriage. The 6 weeks of silence. The evidence I'd collected. The boundaries I'd set. The court hearing. The divorce. The rebuilding. All of it had led to this moment. My daughter laughing on a swing. Me standing behind her, steady and present. The sun breaking through the clouds. A future that was ours to build. It wasn't the life I'd planned 8 years ago when I married Noah. But it was better. Because it was real. And it was enough. Maya hopped off the swing and ran toward the slide, calling back, "Come on, Mommy. Race you." I laughed and jogged after her, feeling lighter than I had in years. We played until the sun started to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. On the drive home, Maya fell asleep in the back seat, her head tilted against the window, her unicorn clutched in her arms. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror and felt my chest swell with something fierce and protective and proud. We'd survived. We'd rebuilt. And we were going to be just fine. Better than fine. We were going to be happy. The kind of happiness you earn by choosing yourself, protecting what matters, and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. I pulled into our parking spot, turned off the engine, and sat for a moment in the quiet. Then I gently woke Maya, carried her sleepy form up to our apartment, and tucked her into bed. "Love you, Mommy," she mumbled, already half asleep again. "Love you more, baby. Always." I turned on her nightlight, closed the door softly, and walked into the living room of the home I'd built. The life I'd fought for. The peace I'd earned. And for the first time in a very long time I felt complete. Not because I had a partner, but because I had myself. And that was more than enough. If this story of earned justice had you hooked from beginning to end, hit that like button right now. My favorite part was when Maya stepped behind her mother's leg in that parking lot, choosing safety over performance. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. Don't miss more